All right, let's get more analysis on this now from Ashish Prashar. He is a former advisor to the Middle East peace envoy and political strategist to the Biden campaign. He joins us now from New York. Thanks very much for being with us. These appointments, a number of these appointments, as we've been saying, have provoked some strong reaction on both sides of the political spectrum. What do you think it tells us about Donald Trump's intentions for his second term as president?
Right. I think the interesting thing for me here is also someone who spent most of his career in foreign policy is that it doesn't actually change what Trump what the Biden administration is going to do. Right. So everyone's pointing out all these like rabid Zionists who are in these roles. But at the end of the day, U.S. foreign policy on a lot of things from Israel, Palestine, Lebanon, the region, the Middle East specifically hasn't changed, whether it be Donald Trump's first term, President Biden just now, or his future term coming up in January 20th. What we're going to see is a continuation of the policy that you're seeing right now. I mean, you have to remember what's outraging people is like the names and the reputations of these people. But in essence, what they're going to continue, just because Biden's people went to the right schools or they speak better or they dress up and they say the right things, if you just take foreign policy, for example, are doing the same types of massacres that people talk that Donald Trump would do walking into office. So when people say that he's going to be worse for things like Gaza or the Middle East, all Trump is doing is holding up a mirror for America to look at itself, saying, we are these people. We are who I'm saying we are. We're not going to sugarcoat it anymore. And a good example of that is the conversation that the Democrats and liberals said during the election that Trump is going to annex the West Bank. So it's going to get phenomenally worse for Palestinians. Well, the reality is under President Biden and Secretary of State Blinken, they've annexed the West Bank. And that started a long time ago. Settlements have been popping up left, right, and center. Violence against Palestinians has exploded. And yet our administration here is not doing anything to protect the so-called two-state solution that they want. So while this is causing outrage, while it's causing chaos in like the American media circles, I don't think anything actually, at least on the foreign policy side, is going to change. I think domestically, when you talked about someone like RFK, now that is going to shake a lot of things up domestically. But Trump likes making sure that everybody's paying attention to every policy that he puts out there. And the reality is, if you learn anything from Trump's first term, a lot of these decisions will run through him and not the people he appoints in each different department.
As you know, many of these appointments have to be, these nominations have to be approved by the Senate. I mean, that has been the plan. That is what's customary. But there is talk that Donald Trump wants recess appointments. In other words, he wants to bypass Senate confirmation. How do you think some of these nominations are going to play out then?
The Senate likes the grandeur of these appointments. They will probably pass the majority of them, if not all of them, because the threat of not being able to be involved in the process is enough for them to kowtow to Donald Trump, right? The Senate likes their airtime, likes to ask the hard-hitting questions, likes their soundbite. And the reality is, I think the Republicans will fall in line and approve as many of these appointments as possible. And I don't think he's going to face any backlash when it comes down to it. Again, we went through this again 4 years ago when certain Republicans, like I think of Susan Collins and Lisa Murkowski, were like, we're not going to appoint people who are anti-abortion. We want people on, in this case, the Supreme Court who are pro-choice. And yet they would pass those judges that Donald Trump wanted, because they fell in line when it really mattered. And I expect the same from the Senate this time around.
If we talk about one particular nominee who has perhaps sparked the most controversy, and that's Matt Gaetz. There are already 2 Republican senators who have come out on the record saying that they will not support his nomination, and the Republicans have a slim majority as it is in the Senate. Is there a possibility there that he may not pass nomination?
If the Senate wants to pick a fight, that will probably be the only fight they pick. Matt Gaetz has obviously got his own investigation into inappropriate activities with young women, and they could probably make for lack of a better term, a stink around his candidacy to be the Attorney General. I still think between now and January 20th, when these appointments start to roll out, we're going to see Trump work behind the scenes. And, you know, we already know he stopped a border bill that would have given effectively America the border policy that Donald Trump wanted to have during the Biden administration years, because he worked behind the scenes with his staff and his surrogates to make sure that bill did not pass, even though every Republican and Democrat agreed to it going into the vote, right? Donald Trump will work every lever he has to make sure Matt Gaetz is the attorney general. But if they had to pick one fight where he can give them one win, it would be Gaetz. There is no other appointment, including RFK Jr., that I doubt they're going to prevent. There is no other appointment on the foreign policy side where these are established Zionists. And look, it doesn't matter which president we have, whether it be Democrat or Republican. If they're picking people out of the Senate and Congress, like 90% of them are Zionists. So none of those appointments are going to have any issue passing through traditional channels. If they will pick a fight, it will be Gaetz. I don't expect, though, it to be a major fight. And I think if Trump works every angle between now and January 20th to make deals behind the scenes, to give congressional people committees they want, and frankly, bankroll things that they want to do from the White House, I think he might still get that through.
Good to talk to you. Ashish Prashar, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.